Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to another show of Legends from the Past and the Future. And it's good to be back. How you guys doing?
Hey, Happy New Year.
Yeah.
Happy New Year, Merry Christmas, all
Happy
that good stuff,
25.
everybody.
All that good stuff.
Man, did you guys, did Santa treat you guys nice over the holiday?
I was treated well.
Yeah, treating my grandkids nice.
Well, you know what, man? There's let's give a big Happy New Year shout out to Bolts, TD, Vanessa. Happy New Year! Welcome to the show, and you know I'm excited, guys. I'm really excited. You know, we had a nice 2 week break, but I miss everybody. I'm glad we are back tonight, man. What you think, man?
Absolutely. It's good to see everybody. Glad everybody's doing well. Happy to start 2025 with you guys, my family.
Yes. What about you, Raj?
I'm glad everybody had a happy and safe Christmas and New Year. Didn't hear anything about anything bad, and it's just good to start the new year off brand new, fresh start. You know, so I made up my mind I'm gonna do certain things because I always put myself last, grandkids and everybody else. I told everybody I'm donating this year to me, myself, and I, all three of them. So
I know that's
right. It's like that sometimes.
All three of
them. Well, big shout out to Lenny, man. Happy New Year. Welcome to the show. And the guy that we have coming on tonight, believe it or not, he's a trailblazer. He's the one that really started all this that we're doing tonight, what the night was doing Tuesday night. You know, Wayne Jearld was one of the first, if not the first, to be interviewing people in Annapolis, you know, and we got him on the show tonight. Mm-hmm. You guys ready for him?
Absolutely. Let's go.
We ready?
Let's do it. Let's bring him on. Coming to the stage is none other than the legendary Wayne Jearld. Wayne, how you doing?
You're making me blush. Happy New Year's to you guys, and thank you very much for having me as a part of the show.
Yeah. Welcome to the show, man. It's a pleasure and an honor just to have you. But I do have to remind you of something, okay? If I have to put some house rules on you, I won't hesitate to put house rules on you. You understand that?
It ain't my first rodeo. I ain't scared.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about. Ride that stallion. Ride
it. My bad. Well, this is what we're going to do first, Wayne. We're going to take you back down memory lane, okay? Tell the audience where you were born and raised.
I was born here in Annapolis, Maryland, at the Naval Academy.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yep, I was a Christmas baby. I was born the day before Christmas.
Awesome, man. Awesome.
Happy belated birthday.
Thank you. I'm still taking presents. Birthday wishes don't work. Give me that present.
Hey, just get him a golf ball. He'd be okay. Just give him a golf ball.
Hey, got me. Don't take much.
And so what are some of the things you enjoyed doing while growing up?
You know, I was a pretty normal kid. I grew up in College Creek Terrace, and my immediate family was just in a few blocks. And at that time, it was pure segregation, Jim Crow rule, and everything we did in Old Berry Court, the old Fourth Ward was right there. We played baseball, we played football, we played basketball, all outside. And any leagues and things that we had and played in, they were church leagues. And when we played church league ball, it was funny. My father, I had 2 brothers and 2 sisters, and the boys went to First Baptist Church with Reverend Bowman, and the girls went over to Asbury Church. I'm only talking about that in terms of the things we did, but we would sometimes play against Asbury Church in sports. So to me, that was a real good thing. It was a safe time for being Black during segregation. I never felt real fear in the early years of my life. My father was a Navy man, and there were times he was stationed in Annapolis. But even when he wasn't there, my mother's family, who was from Annapolis and Anne Arundel County, they were strong. They supported us. You know, any house, any one of my neighbors, I'm sorry, any one of my family houses I went to, I could eat or sleep at any time. So I had a good childhood. Good childhood.
So now, was there anybody that you looked up to, like a mentor, or either athletically or your social prowess? Is there anybody that mentored you?
Well, you know, back then I didn't know what the word mentor mean. It was many years later that I understood that, but I can't remember Jim's name. He used to play with the Richmond Pill Rollers. He was a softball player. He was the one. Him and Bob Green. Mr. Bob Green was the mailman from Annapolis, and he delivered mail. He was very active in team sports with kids, and he took interest in Oberry Court's baseball team. And so those names come to my mind right now in terms of that. I know that your guest that you had on a few weeks ago, Donald Snowden, he was very active with us. Larry Johnson, who came to be a member of the Anne Arundel County Board of Education after graduating from Bowie State College. All of those guys were very active with us at various times. And it wasn't that any one of them did any single thing. A lot of times when they were working with us young kids, they were all doing it together in an effort to make things better.
Awesome. So now, the high school that you went to was Bates High School, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. When you left Bates, where did you go to after you graduated from Bates?
I graduated from the last graduating class at Bates High School in '66, and yeah, I'm telling you my age. It was segregated. I went to Maryland State College after that. I went to Maryland State in '66, but I had become familiar with Maryland State in '61 when my brother Ambrose was a freshman there. In fact, I was with him, my Uncle Leon on my mother's side, who let me ride down to Princess Anne to drop Ambrose off, put his bags on the curb in front of Wilson Hall, gave him $10 and say, "Don't call home."
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you one more question and pass it over to Ayana, okay? Mm-hmm. All right. So how did your experiences growing up in a segregated Annapolis shape your perspective on the systematic inequalities?
You know, like I mentioned before, I was young and I didn't know a lot about Jim Crow segregation. I was always in the presence of adults having conversations when issues would come up. But I believe when I really became indoctrinated in the times was when Black people in the South were being doing demonstrations, were being bitten by dogs, fire hosed, beaten by police, riding horses. The evening stories on the news about the Freedom Riders who were killed, the stories about the North Carolina A&T undergrads and students who desegregated the lunch counters there in Greensboro. Those were the times that I really began to look at and began to feel segregation. It really hit hard in the late 50s when my mother's youngest brother, Jimmy Smith, I was quite young then, but I do remember Uncle Jimmy. He was a very cheerful, joyful person, and he went in the Navy and proud to be in the Army. a white police officer in Washington, D.C. killed Jimmy, my uncle, in an alley on leave from the service. And that kind of was a profound time in my life. My father was in the Navy, and there wasn't much he could do in the late 50s, but he was very aggressive in getting my mom's and my aunt, my grandmother Hattie, to get the NAACP involved and to get the military more involved in solving that case. Even though it never was solved, I do remember those days. I do remember the impact of losing my uncle.
On you, Yana.
So you mentioned the impacts on losing your uncle. Share with our audience, what were some of the impacts on you and your family? How did you guys navigate that? How did you handle it emotionally?
Well, I saw my mother cry more than I've ever saw her in my life, and I was a young kid, and that had a profound effect on me. I saw the trauma it brought on in the house. But my mother was always a forgiving person, and my father, who got a reputation in Annapolis for years of being a very outspoken person, he had a soft heart, and so we got past it. Never forgot it, but we got past it. And so I just don't know what more I could say about that.
Wow. And so your dad, he was in the Navy, and did you have an opportunity to travel?
Well, let's put it this way. We never traveled with my father. My mother told him, and I remember these words when I was a little older, I ain't going no place with you. I'm staying in Annapolis. And so we were raised in Annapolis, but there was a time when he was down at Patuxent River, and he was managing the Enlisted Man Club. And I do remember from quite a few times on weekends and in the summer when he was there, that I would be there with him during those periods, and I had a room. Well, I shared his bedroom in the back of the club. So I had that. I never traveled with him in regards to his service, but I guess you could say I was his road dog. I think more than anyone else in the family, my youngest brother, Darryl, who just passed a few days ago. Well, it seems like a few days ago. My brother Ambrose. My brother Ambrose, Sandra, and Waverly. I was Jearld's road dog. My father would never let any of us call him daddy or father or all of those names. It was always call me Jearld. So, but I went to Carolina with Jearld, back to Lumberton many times, New York, Chicago, Philadelphia. I was always in the car with him. And during those young days, in order to shut me up and not talk about what I saw when I was there, when I got back home, he used to buy me a bag of chips and a soft drink. And I was happy with it,
Black man.
I could imagine. Roger, passing it to you.
Black, you know what? You always got that one. My son never said anything. My youngest daughter never said anything, but my oldest daughter always had questions. Yeah. And I remember before she knew who my cousin Crystal McGowan was, we're here on Annapolis on leave. Army and I was in the Army. And my cousin come across the street, give me a hug and everything. And Shantae didn't say anything. But when we got back to my parents' house, she went right up to my wife at the time and said, "Mommy, do you know a lady named Crystal?" And my wife said, "Yeah." Said, because she was hugging on Daddy downtown.
So she didn't get paid off.
Yeah. No, it's all good though, because my wife said, "Yeah, that's your cousin." But she was the one. I call her the informer. Yeah,
that's
she
right.
was the informer. Well,
if you permit me, I would like to share this with you. As much time as I spent with my father, and I spent a lot with him. He did not tell me about the story and how he came to Annapolis in the Navy in 42. real quickly, as the story goes, and if my brother Ambrose is listening, he's going to jack me up for this, but I'm going to tell it anyway. Him and my father and his younger brother HD was on our farm. We were property owners in Lumberton, North Carolina, Orem, North Carolina. We had a large farm in the 40s, and that was just not the case about Black people. So the sheriff, as it goes, 2 deputy sheriffs came out to the farm one day, and they're young, and they're going to they think, I'll use a more contemporary word, they're going to bully my father and my uncle and whomever else on the farm and show their authority. Well, they left there with black eyes, if you understand what I'm saying. So as the story goes, the sheriff made contact with my grandmother and told them if Jearld and HD were not out of North Carolina by morning, they would be dead by sundown. So Jearld and HD had to hide in the farm's well. And early that morning, they were transported to Washington, D.C. Uncle HD went in the Army, Jearld went in the Navy, and thank God there were no computers, because Jearld changed his name. The family name is Gearld, and Jearld changed his name to the spelling of my name, and my Uncle HD changed his spelling to a different form of Jearld. And I do remember for years afterwards, we could not announce that when I went to Carolina with my father that he was coming back in town. I apologize for taking so much time with that story.
It's your night. It's your night.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you.
I like that story. Yeah. It was hard back then, for people of color to stand their ground without retribution.
Yeah.
And retribution was fierce and deadly. Even if you open your mouth about certain things, it often costs individuals their lives.
Yeah.
So that's not the first time I heard somebody say about someone running away from an area, because I was at Fort Bragg for years. You hear all those stories. Yeah. You know how Fayetteville is. You already know. And you hear all those stories down there when the old soldiers. I had a first son tell me one time, this is 100 years ago, because I'm 65 now. I was 19 back then. So it was 100 years. Appreciate it. Ayana, the young one, she like 22. But
oh Lord,
when
this is a history lesson.
yeah, she need to pay attention. Here you go. So the first son told me the only reason he was from Mississippi. Said the only reason why he joined the military was because he wouldn't have to see no more crosses burning in his front yard.
Wow.
And he said if he joined the military, he knew he wouldn't have to see that. He didn't care about going to Vietnam. He said he just had to get away from that life. Yeah. And I think he's still in North Carolina. He never went back home to live. But we'll circle back to that. So I was looking at your all your accomplishment here. And, so they say you got 30 years of experience in strategic partnership, development, fundraising, event planning, and building. I can't keep on reading all that. It's so much. I've been went to sleep by the time I finished reading. So tell us about some of your event planning.
Well, I mean, the event planning part, I gotta, when I was the chairman of the Anne Arundel County Branch NAACP Economic Development Committee, that's where I really got my start. You guys may remember that Denny's restaurant out on West Street refused to serve 6 Black.
I remember that.
Right. Well, we're going to talk about hopefully my mentor, Frank Richardson, a little bit later, but Frank helped me to come up with a plan that we could go to Denny's and get some money to promote minority business development in the county. So here's what happened, and this will lead up to the event planning. I went down to Greenfield, South Carolina, the headquarters of Denny, and met with the folk there, and I walked away with $40,000 for the Anne Arundel County NAACP. That's a fact. That's a fact. And what we did with that money was we published the first Black business directory in the state of Maryland and most other places with that money. Baltimore Garrison Electric, and there was a guy out there named Harold Williams, gave us another $10,000, and we published and distributed 6,000 copies of that. Well, to go along with that, we created a minority business conference over at the Holiday Inn in Annapolis, and that was my first adventure there. That was very successful. We were able to get Black businesses in front of some of the corporations and government agencies at that time. When I went to Morgan State University, it became more real. I was the first development officer at Morgan State University in its School of Engineering. And this was a time when corporate America only stepped foot on Morgan's campus 2 times a year. And that was at the spring and fall recruitment fair. They paid $125 and they got a glass of wine, and they walked away with all the Black graduate students they want, undergrad students they want, and didn't leave a penny on that campus. And with Dr. Richardson's guidance, what we did was we worked in the School of Engineering because that was the flagship program on campus. We developed a conference that took 2 years to plan. It was called P2K. We populated that planning conference, that event planning conference, with about 60 corporate and government and small business people. And in 2 years, we had that conference at Morgan State University. At the time, Dr. Richardson was the chair of the White House Initiative of HBCUs under Bill Clinton. We paid hotel costs, transportation costs, and gave stipends to 364 HBCU delegates from around the country to attend that conference. Morgan State University turned things around at that point. I'll give you an example. The Morgan State Engineering freshman retention program had a budget of about $15,000. By the time that conference was over and we were working with Lockheed Martin, they gave Morgan the first year $150,000 after the conference. And right now, today, almost 25 years later, they are still principally funding that at Morgan. Wow. So the point I'm saying was the kind of event that helped Morgan State, and I've been doing that since, and with other Black colleges, to build capacity and sustain programs. If we had enough time, I'd tell you about the work I've been doing with the Congressional Black Caucus and their event planning with a friend of mine named Victoria Fore. We've done some real big things with the Congressional Black Caucus and event planning that the HBCUs have benefit from.
I think you're a little bit confused, Mr. Jearld. We understand that. I don't think you understand. We told this your night. If you want to talk about that, go for it. You already got arm and skid to pull out his golf ball. Might well go for it now.
Well, I mean, it's not all about me. I mean, I'm sure we're going to get into a lot of discussion about the Annapolis Youth Services Bureau when there were so many of us, Dr. Mastanis and the rest of us did so many things for those kids over in the Stanton Center in Annapolis. I'm sure we're going to talk a lot about the University of Maryland Eastern Shore, my alma mater, and what Hawks of football is doing down there. I'm sure we're going to do about it. I'm sure we're going to talk about the coalition that brought forth that $577 million law settlement for HBCUs, these 4 Black colleges and HBCUs in Maryland. So I would rather put aside talking about me and let's talk about them things.
Okay, let's talk about the big money that the 4 colleges got.
Hey, Roger, let me say one thing. Let me tell you something, that Mr. Jearld, Wayne Jearld. Don't be telling us what we need to talk about with you. Okay? All right?
All right, bro. So if that's going to be the case, are you going to allow me to give a shout out to Dr. Emmanuel Aqua, who just retired from the University of Maryland Eastern Shore have almost 50 some years as vice president of the international program down there. The man who brought almost 100. The man who brought almost 100 international students to UMES. And here's the kicker: for the 4 years that 100 and some students were on campus, they had to pay by law their fees in advance. Oh. So that, you don't see how much money the UMS got out of it because of Dr. Aqua, but I'm not going to talk more about that. So you just let me go on that one. All right.
No, we not letting
you have some viewers watching, and I just kind of wanted to share what they're saying here. We have Derek Wright Sr. He says, one of my great mentors growing up. If it wasn't for Wayne, I wouldn't have made it to UMES. He mentored me all through high school. Thanks, bro. We have Vanessa Turner. She says, I applaud you, sir. Great trailblazer. And then we also have TD, who says, youth services gave me my first job after high school.
Who's TD? Yeah, well, I'm going to turn you over to Armin because y'all going at it. So you might as well continue.
You know, Wayne, you mentioned Doc Richardson. We got about another 3 minutes before we go to a commercial break.
Wow, I took that much time.
It's okay.
It's your time.
It's your night.
It's your time.
Okay.
But you mentioned Doc Richardson.
Yeah.
That's Frank Richardson, right?
Well, there are 2 Richardsons in my life. Well, actually 3 now. One I won't talk about a lot. But Frank Richardson was when my lifelong mentor of almost 45 years, and Dr. Earl Richardson, who I worked for at Morgan. And you can't call him a mentor because he was my supervisor, but he was my mentor.
Awesome. Now, what's your take on mentorship? Do you think it has evolved over the years? Has it improved to you?
I think it was always there. I think Black folk were never exposed to it to the extent in which it's active in white communities. And so I don't want to disgrace anyone. There have been a lot of Black mentors out there over the years. Hell, that's the only reason we got to where we are. But I had, and I'll answer your question if you allow me to this way. Frank Richardson was the controller of Honeywell, a $4 billion, not a million, $1 billion company out on 450. He was the president of the Chamber of Commerce in Annapolis. I was introduced to him by George Phelps. The first time I went in Frank Richardson's office, I had buckwheat braids, cut off jeans, and a pair of holy sneakers, and that's the truth. And all he said to me after we were finished that day is, I'm going to get you in a suit. That man never judged me. And he helped me to make career decisions. He and my brother Ambrose, who's very close to me. But Frank Richardson helped me to make career decisions and put me into positions to take advantage of things that I never saw. If you allow me to say this, he kept telling me way back in the 70s, you going into sales. And I remember telling Frank at the time, I have no respect for salespeople. You carsmen and whales in the bottom of the ocean are better than salespeople.
Woo.
And Frank told me, well, you just haven't seen the right position. And he was absolutely correct. Because when I got in corporate America in sales, it was a totally different world. Totally different world. So I never made a move career-wise during our relationship. And here's the kicker to all of that. He did not always agree with my moves, but he stayed with me. So that's mentorship to me. And is mentorship evolving today? Heck yeah, it is. I try to do my role. And what you guys are doing right here is a role in this. So yeah, it's there.
Awesome. Well, we're going to take a quick commercial break. And we'll be right back with the rest of the interview. Okay, David. The Legend of the Past and Future show will be having an event on 22 March. We will be hosting our first event, and we're going to have a night of music with DJ Smoke on the ones and twos. We're going to have the KBS show streaming live. When we're streaming live, they're going to be conducting interviews and all that good stuff on that night. We're going to have a performance by Noel Bodie. I think I said that right. She will be performing that night, and we will have the Double S Queens catering our food that night. We're going to have some food. We're going to feed you, and we may have a guest band. I'm not sure yet, but it's possible. So we're going to have a night of fun. And to say I thank you to you for making us who we are today, for contributing to the Legends show with your donations and just watching the show every Wednesday. We want to thank you. And you can purchase your tickets for that event. You can go to legendsandfuture.com. That's our website, legendspastandfuture.com. And you go to events, and you can book your ticket today through Eventbrite. We're looking forward to seeing you. We can't wait to see you. And let's get back to the show, Asia. All right, Mr. Jearld, how you doing?
I have never called Mr. Jearld this many times in years. I can't get used to this. But anyway, I'll take it. I'll take it.
Well, tell the audience, what was your turning point in your early years that made you realize the value of mentorship?
It was at the Annapolis Youth Services Bureau. And the work that we were doing there for kids in Annapolis led us into a lot of different directions. Before I go any further with that, I got to give a shout out to my daughter and my grandson and my sister Sandra and my brother-in-law Earl, because they're going to jack me up if I don't do that. And I'll probably do it again, but said it was my show, so I'm going to do it. So, but anyway, the Annapolis Youth Services had a heck of a team. We were located on the second floor of the Stanton Center, and our job, we were a pre-delinquency program. In other words, we got monies from the state juvenile justice services and the federal government to provide services to kids in risk. And so our team, and I may get in trouble, but I'm going to give you a few names of folk who were a part of that team who actually made me who I am. Because when I was there as the director of that program, I was the biggest kid in that program. I was the biggest kid there. But Dr. Gregory Mustanis, who was responsible for all of the clinical counseling and strategies in dealing with these young kids and their family. Ray Herbert was a former, at the time he was in the school, in the Board of Education as a pupil personnel rep. Ray was there, Mary Ann Sachs, Gertrude Holbrooks, Sheila West, Doris Wright, which is Showbiz Moms. I'm going to mention her again because she played a major role in this. Vicky Coulter from Juvenile Services, Missy Weaver, Clay Evans, James Chase. You may know of James Chase. He passed years ago, but he was a big athlete at Annapolis High football and at Maryland State. He was the director of the Annapolis Transportation System. Larry Brogdon, Larry Johnson, Bruce and Raynard Abela. My cousin, harder, Sheila West. She was excellent. She took charge of that. She got the leader. She got the direction from Mustanis and Ray Herbert. She was the one that helped the counselors, some of those white counselors, get into them black homes and not be scared. But Vanessa Clark, Tanya Fox, Linda Thomas, and my sister-in-law Anna, Dr. Anna Jearld. She had a PhD, so she knew what she was doing. Yeah, there was. And I don't care what you said. There wasn't no nepotism. They just had credentials. So, it was then that I really began to see what mentoring was, because I think everything that we did for those kids were mentorship. It could get in there. You know, back in the 70s, when in the early 60s, let me say this, I'll tell you this part first. No, I'll tell you this part first. In the early 60s, late 60s, during segregation, when black kids went downtown in Annapolis and shoplifted from the Woolworths down there, or allegedly shoplifted from the Woolworth, the managers called the Annapolis Police Department. Those kids were picked up, and all too often they found their way in the criminal justice system. Mm-hmm. When the white kids over there on Duke of Gloucester Street from St. Mary's Elementary School and high school at the time, when they got caught, the police came and got them. Okay. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that we did, and it indirectly led to mentorship, was Doris Wright, Derek Wright's mother, Showbiz's mother, was the lead executive administrator at the local juvenile service department next to the courthouse. Her and Vicky Coulter came to our shop because of our relationship with them. And we told them about our concerns about the inequity of treatment of these black kids. Mm-hmm. And so Frank Richardson, Mastanis, myself, Sheila, we all got our heads together. We went to the Chamber of Commerce, and we came up with this idea that it was later called the Community Arbitration Program. That's what came out of this brainstorming. This group of people went to Warren Duckett, and David Lerm was the director of juvenile services at the time, to present our case. And so Warren Duckett understood the matter, and Warren Duckett developed this unit within the state's attorney's office called the Community Arbitration. So from that point on, all those little black kids who went downtown and got caught or was allegedly doing something went into the Community Arbitration Program. So they were in the Community Arbitration Program, and this was open to all kids in the county, just not black kids. They could have several things happen to them. They could be sent into another program like ours. They could be sent for counseling. They could pay restitution if it led to that, but they didn't get a criminal file built on them. So as far as I'm concerned, that Community Arbitration Program, which is now have been mimicked across this country, was one of the biggest programs that we ever had. And as far as I'm concerned, and I've said that again, that's mentoring at a higher level.
Yes, it is. Yes,
one of the other programs that we got involved in at Youth Services Bureau was with the University of Maryland Eastern Shore, my alma mater. At the time, Art Shell, who was still in the league, Mac Alston, Marshall Cropper, Larry Brogdon, you know Coach Larry Brogdon, you had him on your show. They were having these summer camps down there for kids. They were strictly recreation. So, you know, we talk with Art, we talk with Mac, we talk with Marshall, we talk with Larry, and they say, okay, we got to go talk to Dr. Heitch. He was the president. We used to call him Daddy Heitch. And so we took the story to him, and without any hesitation, Heitch said, you bring as many of those kids from Annapolis down here as you want to every summer. Yeah. We would carry as many as 2 bus loads of kids down there a summer. Our counselors would be with them. We had volunteers who were alum of UMES, parents of some of the kids. We never in almost 8 years had to take one kid back home because of behavior issues. They met adults, they met college-bound kids who they kept relationships throughout life. I know this because every time I'm back home, well, I should say often when I'm back home, someone may walk up to me and say, I remember those days, and this is what you did. So the point I'm making here is, and more important point that I'm making here, those relationships were lifelong relationships for those kids. They were lifelong relationships. But I can guarantee you that of those 8 after 10 years of that, probably 100 of those kids went back to UMES and became freshmen. My daughter, Heather, my niece, Kathy, my cousin, Kelly, Anthony, Saunders' son. From the time Ambrose was there in 61 until now, and including those times in the 70s, we've got over 28 Jearlds or Smiths or Belts or whoever you want to call them going to Maryland State because of those camps. So to me, that's I may be stretching it a bit, but to me, that's mentorship. That's what mentorship means.
Yes, that's awesome. That's awesome. Before I pass it over to Yana, I just want to ask you one other thing, okay? And I don't want you to think that you steered me in this direction to ask you this question, okay?
I won't tell them I got paid off.
You already broke the house rule by giving shout outs, okay? Hey, but what exactly is Hawks for football?
You know, that's the $64,000 question. Y'all remember that old program back when TV used to go off at 11 o'clock? Well, y'all don't remember that, do you?
I remember it.
You know, Hawks for Football is an organization that developed after football was suspended in 1979. It wasn't really developed or organized until 2005. But if you allow me a couple of seconds here, I just got to tell the story. Brian Mitchell gave an excellent overview of what's going on, but I was there a little bit before Brian, so I'm just going to build on his discussion. Football at the time at University of Maryland Eastern Shore was a matter of constant concern. One thing the coalition that brought the lawsuit against the state of Maryland was able to prove was that the lack of student enrollment at UMAS during those years, the lack of the types of academic programs that were available at UMS during those years prevented us from getting the volume or the number of students necessary on campus to sustain football at a D1 level. Dr. Heights was villainized for disbanding that program. But I'm here to tell you now that that man was a savior. And the lawsuit brings accurate accreditation to that statement. He had no choice but to do that. The state knew what they were doing. Let me just say this. Since Dr. Heights' retirement in 97, UMES has had 7 presidents. Now, forget the Hawks for Football story. What university can be absolutely functional with 7 presidents in less than 24 years? But here's the one commonality that each one of those presidents had, is their determination to keep football from returning to UMES. That's a fact.
Wow.
Those are facts that we've found. Every president. So Hawks for Football in the early days, and that is between the time it was suspended and I will say until about 2000, really wasn't a functional organization in terms of strategizing a way in which it could recover that legendary program. Things began to change right around 2005 when Thomas Knox and Brian Mitchell were able to convince one of those presidents, who was an interim president, to set up the Skip McCain Fund on campus. And that was a fund where they were able to fundraise from alumni and begin to put money aside for the purpose of supporting the effort to return football. It wasn't until 2005 that Hawks for Football was formally organized. And one of our own homegirls from Annapolis, Joanne Johnson, she's Joanne Johnson Shaw, was the president of Hawks for Football for many years, And during the years between 2005 and 2012, when things really began to change, they did all they could do. And to be fair with them, they did not recognize the determination of the University System of Maryland to keep football off campus so that they could protect Salisbury University.
Wow.
That's a story from another time, but I will tell you right now that all of UMAS's problems that we've had to overcome and fight so hard to thrive comes from the presence of Salisbury University.
Wow.
I will tell you this, that the lawsuit that took 15 years to settle demonstrated without any question that when Salisbury University was started in 1925-26 as a segregated institution, from that day, it duplicated every academic program that Maryland State College had, or UMES had.
Wow.
Now, you remember, that's the premise of the 15-year lawsuit, was that the state allowed these white colleges to duplicate Maryland, the 4 black colleges, and in our case, Salisbury just killed us, but we still kept our head up. So, I got off a little bit off track. So let me get back to Hawks for Football.
That's okay. We're gonna pass it over to Yana. Okay.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry. I got too wordy. I apologize.
No, we're going to continue the conversation. And so, what has been your role with Hawks for Football? What are some of the activities that you've been involved with, and where are they at this point?
Well, in 2020, we rebranded our organization. We rebranded Hawks for Football, and we aligned it with the coalition that brought the $577 million lawsuit settlement. We aligned it with them. And what we've come to realize, and it really is our foundation today, is that football will come back to UMES. But it will come back and be sustainable when we can increase our enrollment to the point that it can sustain football. When I was working at UMES in 2013, the projected enrollment of UMES at that time was, for 2020, was 6,000 students. I need you to hear something here. And I know I may be, and you're going to have to shut me down, and I'm okay with that if I'm talking too much. But in 2017, UMES's enrollment plummeted from about 4,800 students until about 2018, 2019 to 2,200 students. 2,200 students. And today's enrollment is less than the 3,300 students that Dr. Heitz had in 97. Enrollment has plateaued. So as the executive director of Hawks for Football, we are doing our best to find fair-minded, like-minded people, alumni friends, folk on campus, to understand the importance of driving and sustaining enrollment. What the court said in the litigation was that in order for, and I'm saying the courts, but what was found, in order for UMES to get to the kind of enrollment, not only that will allow it to thrive and be competitive with the other colleges in the state and in the country, we got to come up with these niche programs. We got to come up with niche programs. And when we get those niche programs, we will get the student population. We will get the world-class faculty. We will get the world-class researchers. We will get those kinds of components that will make us the destination of choice for students who are looking for an academic home. We have to help with preparing and presenting the kind of marketing plans that tells the true story of UMES and its value. We got to tell the story of that. I want to share with you that Hawks for Football is now engaged with our Emmy Award producing company in Washington, D.C., where we will be producing a full-length documentary about the story of UMES. And it won't all be about football. It'll be about all of the things that has gone on our university campus, and give those kudos to people who deserve them. But I got to tell you this, as an executive director of Hawks for Football, I do get into campus things from time to time. I said to you that I was on campus. I worked on campus for a little more than 5 years. I was their first development officer. In other words, it was my responsibility to go out and find business partnerships, find monies, et cetera, et cetera. I was the first corporate development officer. But at the time, I also served, because I have a PGA golf background, I was a coordinator for the PGA, the university's PGM program. It is the Professional Golf Association of America's professional golf management program. And I got to share this with you about the plight of this program. In the world today, in the U.S. today, there are 363 colleges and universities that have engineering programs, accredited engineering programs. The Black College Engineering accredited programs are called ABAT accredited programs. In the U.S. today, in 2022, there were 4,700 colleges and universities that are granted business degrees, bachelor business degrees, to over 400,000 students. The University of Maryland Eastern Shore, is one of 18 universities in the country, in the world, to offer the PGA golf program. To give you an example of the concerns I have with the program, East Carolina, or Coastal Carolina University, is one of those 18 that have a program, accredited program. Last year, they had 256 students matriculating in the PGA bachelor's program. Last year, this past fall, UMES had 22 students.
Wow.
I could spend the next 5 hours telling you about this program alone, how this administration on this campus claims to see this as a flagship program, but has allowed it to lose its accreditation.
Ooh.
In the last year and a half. They got it back now. Lose its accreditation. So the point I'm saying, the role that we play at Hawks for Football, and let me just not get emotional here and slow up, but the role that we play in Hawks for Football is to ask questions and not be afraid to share suggestions and recommendations. And there are a lot of folk associated with our alma mater. There are a lot of folk who are associated with our alma mater would rather we not be there. Mm-hmm. But Hawks for Football, as Brian Mitchell told you, Dr. Brian Mitchell told you, he was a football player there. He came back. Brian Mitchell could be making hundreds of thousands of dollars right now in corporate America. But he's been at UMES for 26 years. And I have to tell you this, they treated him badly.
Mm.
But now, Roger, you told me it's my show, but I think I better shut up and let you all go at this.
No, you can keep on going because it's getting interesting big time.
Well, let me finish this out with Hawks for Football then. Our goal is to have football to return in our lifetime. In our lifetime, we've done our best to work with the Board of Regents, who have not been attentive. The Chancellor will not talk to us. He does not reply to any of our emails. His Chief of Staff does, and at times she's been incredibly unprofessional, but that doesn't deter us. That doesn't deter us. Hawks for Football primarily is supported by the old school Hawks. The old school Hawks, the Hawks that were there from 72 and before. We've been through segregation. We know racism when we see it. And we know that when the Chancellor, when all of this stuff started, when we started losing our enrollment at UMS, the Chancellor then was Robert Corrett. Now, you might ask me, why do I bring his name up? And I'll be real quick about this, Amon. I'll be real quick about it. Robert Corrett was the president of Towson State University. And under the Bob Ehrlich administration, Ehrlich allowed Corrett, the president of Towson State University, to duplicate Morgan State University prestigious MBA program. Towson said the heck with it. And there was policies in place that was not to happen. But Corrett did it. Well, Corrett, in his first year as chancellor, was the one who shut down club football on campus. Within months of him coming there, he shut down club football. Hawks for Football has been fighting that. Well, we got, these are challenging times. Things have changed, but as things change, some things remain the same. Hawks for Football is determined to do what it takes. And our biggest challenge today is to bring in more members. We want to be able to bring in more members so that we can broaden our discussion. We are in the process, as I said earlier, of working to develop that documentary program. It's going to be aired on Maryland Public Broadcasting. The budget is already in place. The projected delivery date is either going to be February 26th or September 26th. And I'm inviting all of you to be a part of this. Yes, you're a part of it because of what you're doing today. And so my request now is to your listening audience is please contact me. Or if they have to contact you to get to me, I need to hear from you about this documentary. I need to hear from you about what you believe is going on campus. What you think you can do to help this. If you want to stay anonymous in what you're doing, fine. We have no problem with this. One thing about me is I learned a long time ago, you don't always give up and that's all I got to say about that.
I just want to say thank you so much for joining us. This has been quite an enlightening conversation, and we definitely want to have you back once the documentary is released. Absolutely.
Well, you're going to have to be a part of the documentary so you can help us to produce it. And so I want to thank you for having me. I'm sorry if I got a little bit wordy here, but I appreciate your platform. Thank you very much.
You didn't get wordy. You just spoke from the heart. And that's what this show is all about.
Appreciate you.
People need to know. And you put the information out for them to know. Just think about this. Look at it this way. If you hadn't said anything, how would we know? Because you don't know what you don't know.
Speak truth to power.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Wayne, we need to bring you back for real. There's so much more to cover. So much more to cover. And you have really been inspirational. A lot of knowledge, a lot of history. And I really appreciate that. And you know what? I'm going to tell you something right there in Ayana. Because I really feel that Mr. Jearld is getting ready to make a sizable contribution to our show.
Nah.
You know, so I'm gonna give away a gift tonight. You know, because I feel that happen. You know, and everybody out there that's on YouTube, please subscribe to the show and donate. Keep this show going, okay? The seventh caller that can tell me where Mr. Jearld was born and raised. Matter of fact, we already know he was born in Annapolis, but tell us, where was he actually born at in Annapolis? If you can tell us that, the seventh caller, 240-603-1743, the seventh caller, you will win a prize tonight.
His daughter says she will. Derek Wright said I was a starting wide receiver on the last 1979 Hawks football team. Go Derek. That's Annapolis High Panther guy right there.
Again, the seventh caller, you call me at 240-603-1743, and you can tell me where he was born at. You will win a prize tonight. You the first caller. Mm-hmm. The number's on the screen there, 240-603-1743. And I know your tactics, see. You're trying to wait these calls out. All right. But I'm gonna put a time limit on it. Okay, so we already had one call. 240-603-1743. You can tell me. You the second caller.
How did you get past, Wallace?
You the third caller.
Who is
You the
that?
third caller.
Lodi.
You know that well.
Give my cousin something.
You the fourth caller. You're the fifth caller.
Yeah, Orlando Mako. He's a great football player at Annapolis too.
You the sixth caller. Boy, you waited this one out, didn't you? We have a winner, Kim Jones.
That's right.
Okay.
Congratulations.
I timed it right.
Hey, Jones, I cut. Say it one more time. Say it one more time, Kim.
I say he was born in the Naval Academy at Annapolis, Maryland.
All right.
All right, congratulations.
Congratulations.
Hey, I'll get back with you, Kim, okay? Hey, look, hey, Coach. That was Coach Brogdon they called. But in any
Annapolis
event,
High football coach.
yeah. I want to thank everybody who came out tonight. You know, thank you for supporting the show. Thank you for being on the show, and don't forget, okay, support the show. Support the show by donating. You can donate at $ Amon Wallace, a Cash App, okay, or you can use Zelle and go to Legends from the Past and Future Show and Zelle. But whatever you want to choose to donate is fine with us. But we can use donations. We got an event coming up. Half proceeds will go to college scholarships and internships. So support the show. Support our event that's coming up on the 22nd of March. And we look forward to seeing everybody. Roger, you have anything you want to say?
Thank you, everybody, for showing up. And thank you, Mr. Jearld, for giving us all this knowledge that we didn't know. And yeah, we're here to support you and the praise that you gave this show. But more importantly, thank you for being part of, and I hope everybody realizes this man here is part of the history of Annapolis. We appreciate you. Appreciate you big time. Thank you very much.
Yeah. How about you, Ayana?
We'd like to thank our sponsors, my econ, Mr. Ivy Stokes, Mr. Carol H. Henson, as well as J&J Realty. We really appreciate our sponsors. If you're interested in sponsorship as well, you can go to our website at Legends, Past and Future, and all the information is there, including this wonderful merch that Kim Jones just won. You can find merch there. You can find events and all things Legends from the Past and Future show. Thank you for watching.
Awesome. Mr. Jearld, anything encouraging you would like to say before we leave?
Absolutely. One of the missions and deliverables of Hawks for Football is to partner with organizations and entities in our community and help them to realize their dream and their mission. And so for that, here's what I'm going to put on the table for you. I have over 40-some years in fundraising, corporate sales and fundraising. I'm willing to donate through Hawks for Football our time to help you, should you want a fundraising strategy that will seek to bring you the kinds of resources you seek to make this program realize its fullest potential.
Awesome. Okay.
No, that's awesome.
Yes.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
My pleasure.
Yeah. When can we start?
We can start anytime you want to, but not tonight, because I got a colonoscopy coming in the morning.
Oh.
I got to take some medicine.
Okay.
And so when you saw me getting up earlier, you understand what I'm saying? That's all I got to say about that.
That's it.
I don't have. I know what you're talking about.
Everybody out there, thanks for joining us. We may or may not have a show next week. I'll let you know, but peace.
Good night, everybody.